Hello everyone, this is Neuro, your friendly guide to the complex world of geopolitics. Today, we are going to explore a topic that has been making headlines, the conflict between the Huthis and the USA and UK. This dispute, rooted in history and politics, raises numerous questions about power, ethics, and international relations. To understand the situation, it's important to delve into the reasons behind the conflict and the roles these countries play on the global stage. So, let's dive into this intricate web of international relations. To understand any conflict, we need to understand the parties involved. So, who exactly are the Huthis? Dive into the pages of history and you will find that the Huthis, also known as Ansar Allah, are a political and armed movement originating from Yemen's northern province of Sada. The group emerged in the early 90s, primarily as a theological movement, preaching peace and tolerance under the leadership of Hussein Badreddin al-Houthi. However, the Huthis didn't stay a theological movement for long. As the years rolled by, they transformed into a formidable rebel group driven by a zealous belief in Zaydism, a branch of Shia Islam. Zaydism is unique to Yemen, and the Huthis see themselves as defenders of this faith, which has been marginalized in a country dominated by Sunni Islam. Now let's talk about their political objectives. The Huthis initially aimed to protect their community's rights and fight against what they perceived as efforts to marginalize them. However, their goals seemed to evolve with time. In 2014, they seized control of Yemen's capital, Sana'a, and other parts of the country, aiming to overthrow the internationally recognized government. However, their rule has been marked by economic decline and widespread human rights abuses, triggering a massive humanitarian crisis. The Huthis claim their actions are a response to political corruption and foreign interference, particularly from Saudi Arabia and the United States. But it's important to remember that the Huthis are not a monolithic group. They are a coalition of different tribes and political factions, each with their own interests and agendas. This complexity often makes it difficult to predict their actions and negotiate with them. So, when we talk about the Huthis, we're talking about a group with deep historical roots, driven by a mix of religious beliefs, political ambitions, and a desire for social justice. They are a key player in the ongoing Yemen conflict, a puzzle piece in a much larger geopolitical game. Now that we know who the Huthis are, let's move on to the other side of the conflict. The USA and UK, two of the world's superpowers, have their own perspective on this conflict. But why? Well, let's dive into it. The United States and the United Kingdom have long-standing geopolitical interests in the region. The Middle East is a strategic hub, rich in resources and a crossroads of trade routes. Both nations have a vested interest in maintaining stability and securing their interests there. The USA's stance on the conflict has been largely influenced by its relationship with Saudi Arabia, a key ally in the region. The United States has provided support to Saudi Arabia in its campaign against the Huthis, in part due to concerns over Iran's influence in the region. The Huthis are seen by many as being backed by Iran, a nation with which the United States has had a contentious relationship. On the other hand, the UK's position is somewhat more complex. Like the USA, the UK has a close relationship with Saudi Arabia and has provided support in the conflict. However, the UK has also been vocal in its concerns over the humanitarian crisis in Yemen and has called for a diplomatic solution to the conflict. The relationship with the Huthis is also different for each superpower. The Huthis have been designated as a terrorist organization by the United States, a move that has been criticized by some as potentially complicating peace efforts. The UK, however, has not made such a designation and has engaged in talks with the group in the past. In essence, both the USA and UK have nuanced positions on the conflict, influenced by their geopolitical interests, relationships with other regional players, and their views on the Huthis. In understanding these positions, it's important to recognize that the situation is complex, with no easy solutions. With this understanding of both sides, we can now explore the potential resolutions to this conflict. Conflicts are complicated, but there's always a way to resolve them. So, what are the possible solutions here? In the midst of the complexity, there's always room for diplomacy. Diplomatic solutions often provide a path to peace, even in the most intricate situations. Here, the role of international organizations such as the United Nations becomes pivotal. These organizations, with their global reach and influence, can mediate between the parties, facilitate dialogue, and foster an environment that encourages peaceful resolution. One possible approach is to ensure that all parties have a seat at the negotiation table. This could involve the Huthis, the USA, and the UK, along with other key stakeholders. Open dialogue can lead to mutual understanding, and in turn, a potential agreement that respects the interests of everyone involved. Another solution could lie in the realm of politics. Political solutions often involve compromise and negotiation, but they can also lead to lasting peace. For instance, establishing a power-sharing agreement or a transitional government could be viable options. Such arrangements can help to reduce tensions, ensure a fair distribution of power, and pave the way for long-term stability. But let's not overlook the importance of addressing the root causes of the conflict. This could involve initiatives aimed at economic development, social reform, or reconciliation. Addressing these underlying issues can help to create a more peaceful and stable society, which in turn can prevent future conflicts. And finally, there's the role of the international community. The world at large can play a crucial role in resolving conflicts by providing support, whether it's financial, humanitarian, or diplomatic. This support can help to alleviate suffering, facilitate negotiations, and promote peace and stability. But while these solutions seem plausible, implementing them is a whole different ballgame. It's one thing to propose solutions, but quite another to put them into action. The road to peace is often long and challenging, but with concerted effort and commitment, it's a journey that's worth undertaking. Superpowers like the USA and UK have a significant role to play in resolving such conflicts. But what can they really do? In the global chessboard of diplomacy and geopolitics, superpowers are the kings and queens. They are the movers and shakers, wielding significant influence over world events. And with great power, as the saying goes, comes great responsibility. When it comes to resolving international conflicts, such as the one between the Huthis and other nations, superpowers can utilize a variety of tools at their disposal. Diplomatic negotiations, economic sanctions, and even military intervention are all possibilities. They can broker peace talks, mediate disputes, and apply pressure where it is needed. However, the role of these superpowers isn't as straightforward as it may seem. They often face a delicate balancing act. On one hand, they have a responsibility to maintain global peace and stability. On the other, they must also safeguard their own national interests. Sometimes, these two goals may be at odds with each other, adding layers of complexity to their decision-making process. Moreover, superpowers also need to navigate the intricate web of international relations. They have to consider their relationships with other countries, regional dynamics, and the potential implications of their actions. It's a bit like playing a high-stakes game of chess, where every move can have far-reaching consequences. Furthermore, the effectiveness of superpowers in resolving conflicts is also dependent on their perceived legitimacy and credibility. This can be influenced by a range of factors, from their past actions to their adherence to international law. Let's not forget, superpowers are not infallible. They have their limitations and they can make mistakes. Their actions can sometimes exacerbate conflicts rather than resolve them. So, while superpowers undoubtedly have a significant role to play, the path they tread is laden with challenges. Their actions can shape the course of history, but they must tread carefully, balancing their own interests with their responsibility towards global peace and stability. As we can see, the role of superpowers is crucial, but it's not without its complexities. So, we've explored the conflict, understood the parties involved, and looked at possible resolutions. But who's right? In the quest to find an answer, we've traversed the challenging terrain of international politics. We've dissected the Huthis' perspective, shedding light on their struggle and aspirations. We've also examined the positions of the USA and the UK, understanding their interests and concerns in this complex situation. The possibilities for resolution we've discussed are far from exhaustive, but they provide a glimpse into the intricate web of diplomacy and negotiation that surrounds such conflicts. From direct intervention to diplomatic mediations, the options vary as much as the stakeholders themselves. We also delved into the role of superpowers, highlighting their potential to influence the course of this conflict. Their actions, or lack thereof, can have a significant impact on the balance of power and the prospects for peace. However, the crux of the matter lies not in determining who is right or wrong, but in acknowledging the complexity and nuances inherent in international conflicts. It's about understanding that every party has its own narrative, its own truths, and its own interests. In the end, it's not about who's right or wrong, but about finding a peaceful resolution that respects the rights and interests of all parties involved. This is Neuro, signing off. Stay curious, stay informed.